What's up, everybody? This is Eric from Wasteland.com. How many people we got? Not too shabby. We got 8 people. I meant to do this live stream yesterday, but I had the other video that this internet, I don't get bad download speeds, but my uploading is incredibly slow. And if I have a video uploading, it takes a couple hours usually, even for just a 10 or 12-minute video. And so I didn't want to try to run the live stream at the same time. I just did the premiere instead. Did you serve in the military? Yes, I did. I was in the Army National Guard, deployed once to Kuwait, support of Operation Iraqi Freedom for a year. I like your name, Mr. Shit Hit the Fan Man. Yeah, it's pretty good. TW, just want to say hi because I got the notification. Have a good chat, y'all. Bye now. Thanks for stopping by. Smash the like button. Husband served almost 21 years in the Army. Awesome. Thank me for my service. Thank you for his service. Where's everyone from? I'm from Florida, currently living in Nevada. Virginia says hello from Long Island. Warsaw Patriot, thank you for your service. My pleasure. Unless you're talking to the other guy, then it was his pleasure. I agree, the Middle East will never change. I just think that we should completely leave the area. Being there is not stopping there from being any conflict. I sadly do think that the only reason we're really there is not in pursuit of any truly altruistic goals, spreading democracy or whatever, but just to have a foothold in the region. It's partially due to oil and other related stuff. Maybe some CIA-related opium running. Who knows? Doesn't even, there's all sorts of stuff going on. What's up, Frank and Michael? Florida 5th Special Forces, 14 years. Nice work. I was not good enough at rucking to to join the Special Forces. In fact, I was fine at it. I just, my body does not handle that stuff very well. Always did well on my PT test, though. Vietnam vet and really enjoy it. Awesome. Awesome stuff. My MOS was 88 Alpha, which is a transportation officer. So it's the officer version of an 88 Mike, basically. So instead of driving, I just sat in the car while a 19-year-old who trained for like 25 minutes drove a giant fuel tanker around trying to kill me. And I actually wasn't even licensed to drive most of those special vehicles. I could drive the Humvees and the LMTVs and the FMTVs and stuff like that, but the Hemet tankers and all those, I wasn't even like allowed to drive it. So I just had to sit there and wait patiently to die in downtown Tampa traffic while this giant fuel tanker sloshed around with some 19-year-old driving it. What's your thoughts on the current war that's going on in Ukraine? There's Russia's unique. There's some different groups. Russia's so huge. There's a couple different groups involved there, and then when you add in all the mess of their big former Soviet countries that all have their own unique cultures and identities and stuff, there's always going to be weird stuff like that going on unless they consolidate it to a smaller country. I really don't know a lot about the specifics, but yeah, they've been some conflicts for a while. Since you're a Florida fan, what would you consider Florida's biggest rival? FSU is the biggest in-state rival. We've had some beef with Ohio and Michigan before, but nothing too crazy. We just beat Michigan, though. We beat Ohio State in like 2 consecutive national championships, so that was pretty great. Isn't that job description military license plate cleaner? Maybe for an 88 Mike. I was the, hey, go clean that license plate guy. Or tell my platoon sergeant, hey, tell those guys to clean those license plates. Well, I got busy having to put together a PowerPoint presentation to tell them not to rape each other and stuff. Fun times, man. Fun times. So I've got some, as an LSU fan, I think Bama isn't a rival no more, and Florida is our biggest. Yeah, the LSU fans have been especially aggressive towards me lately. It's been interesting. I was like, since when has LSU hated Florida? But yeah, it seems to be ramping up. And Bama, it's weird because they always do well. So obviously we want to beat all those other, teams, local, like kind of same area teams that do really well. But I don't know if there's ever been like a distinct rivalry between FSU is the main one, the other Florida school. Obviously we have Miami, but they're not in the SEC, so we don't play them as often. I guess that FSU isn't either. What are the symbols on the toxic shirt? I only recognize like 2 of them. Okay, so the T is a feminist symbol, but it's actually, the typical symbol is upside down because it's supposed to be like the female plus, and then the fist is on the bottom side of the T, so we just kind of changed it a little bit. The O is the Antifa symbol. The X is the communism symbol. The I has like the little NAMBLA symbol at the top of the dotted I, which is a disgusting organization. And the C is the Islamic moon symbol. Clemson about to pull us off. We'll see. Alabama's tough to beat, man. Tough to beat. But Clemson's been doing really well. Absolutely smashed the Golden Domers. Do you enjoy living in Vegas as much as in Florida? So, I mean, I like Vegas more than Gainesville, where I live. There's a lot I like about Florida as a state, and there's a lot of different. I mean, Florida's so different in all different places you can live, but overall, I enjoy Vegas a lot more. It's much more my speed, the weather, and everything. I'm deciding on joining the U.S. Navy someday. I always tell people that as a job, it's hard to find fault with the military. There's a lot of good things about it because you have so many opportunities I've had just by being in the military. Everything from my VA home loan, all the discounts you get all the time. I mean, that stuff seems kind of like petty, but that bit matters. You get extra points on so many jobs you apply for later, from civil service jobs to you get veterans preference for all this stuff. Like, even if you just do a quick little stint and get a deployment under your belt, it'll be a big deal. Help you out a lot. What kind of football team would NAMBLA field? I don't even want to know. I'm from Ocala. Now I'm out west. Way better. Yeah. So I was right in that area. I was in Gainesville, and I'm out west too. I also think it's way better. My career field goes into the Navy, plus I can make a major pension. Yeah, and if you stay in, you get a great pension. If you go through like nuclear sub training and stuff, you can get out and make a ton of money. A nuclear engineer and just something like that. For the last few years, UCF has been the highest ranked football team in Florida. Yeah, they've been doing pretty well, actually. In Vegas, do the people prefer CFB or NFL? And, I haven't heard anyone really, not too many college people out here. It's mostly the pro teams. So I would definitely say NFL. There's a lot of Packers fans, interestingly enough, a lot of Cowboys. Those two teams have a lot of fans. But yeah, there's definitely more pro team support, it seems like. We're getting the Raiders out here too. They're building the stadium. I think they got one more season, and then they're going to be out here for the next one. In South LA, we root for LSU and care more about LSU than Saints. Interesting. What's up, Trammell? I hate UCF. Yeah, I don't like them either. I think they're too big for their britches. Count's Vamp or House of Blues? I haven't been to either of those. Any sleeper shit the fan flicks you've come across lately? I am going to do reviews on The Domestics and Goodbye World here coming up. Las Vegas would be a good city for NFL. Yeah, they're getting the Raiders in a year. For so many years, they didn't have any pro sports teams at all. They got the Knights last year, and they went to the finals. It was the most successful inaugural season of any pro sports team, of any of the 4 or 5 major sports, from a completely new expansion team, wasn't even a transfer, to the finals of the national championship game, the Stanley Cup, in their first season. They're not doing that hot this year, but it was pretty amazing to do that in their first season. And I'm not even a hockey fan. Do you know what the capacity is in Sam Boyd Stadium? I have no idea. Let's talk prepping. All right, yeah, enough with the college football stuff. But first, before we get into prepping, I'm going to tell you guys a story that will make your balls shrink to the size of raisins, as the man says. It's hilarious. And some of you guys caught on to it. But when I was making my video, it's the title of this is Shit Hit the Floor. And I was making my video for the first 10 things to do after shit hit the fan, and I was having a lot of trouble with my computer, to the point that I had to uninstall and completely reinstall my editing software. And because JJ Johnson had set a timetable for when he was releasing his video, I was trying to release mine at the same time, which was very early in the morning, so I had to get done during the day. So I was scrambling around, got that stuff done, and I wanted to do the funny intro, so I ran out and filmed it real quick. And I didn't realize that until after I'd uploaded the video that there was, in fact, a giant load in the hallway that my girlfriend's crusty old dog had left in there. Everyone was blaming it on Mongo. He would never do such a thing. You never see him in the videos because he doesn't really like me that much. He's a grumpy old fart. And he left a giant shit in the back of the hallway, which I didn't even see. Even through editing the video, I was so just trying to get the shit done, and the viewfinder for the editing footage is small, so I didn't notice it as well. But yeah, there was, for those people who saw it, yep, that is what it was. It was a giant shit on the floor, and very embarrassing. Luckily, YouTube I didn't want to completely take the video down, but because it was doing well, I didn't want to re-upload it. But luckily, YouTube has a feature where you can do some very, very basic editing, trimming, and it looks like I was able to get rid of that. Yeah, right. I'm demonized or demonetized for saying shit. Man, if you get demonetized for just saying curse words, there's not a big spider behind me. Lying. Besides, I'm not afraid of spiders anyway. It wouldn't matter. You know, speaking of which, there are a lot of black widows around here. Outside, there is way more. There were some in Florida too, but there's a lot of giant black widows out on like my workout equipment. I got to be careful. All right, let's go through the comments. Also, one thing I want to start doing in these is every live stream, I'm going to mention a particular smaller YouTube channel that I've come across that I like, because it's really hard these days, especially these days on YouTube, to get up to that first, 1,000 or so subscribers, because the way the algorithms work, the stuff doesn't get spread the way it should or suggested. It really is tough to get to that initial group. So I'm going to find some smaller groups, somewhere, under 5,000 probably most of the time, unless it's just one that I really have liked recently. But I'm going to try to mention that. So I'll let you guys know in a second, but let's go through some of these. Shoot, if I had some NFL money, my preps would be covered. Yeah, for sure. NFL league minimum is like 300K, right? Just letting you know, you probably don't know this, but we actually have U.S. troops in Ukraine. We have, special ops everywhere. We have U.S. troops in some capacity in over 100 countries, I think. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. People are quibbling over trying to find a few $1 billion to build the wall. Meanwhile, the Pentagon disappears like $1 trillion. And they're like, I don't know where it went. Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. All right. Me too. What do we got? Spiders are good. I only kill spiders if it's real big. Termites did 9/11. I was born here, came here at 13, now 43, so American Polish too. My unit was 151st Postal Company, Fort Hood, Texas. I got to spend a little bit of time in North Fort Hood, Texas, as some pre-mob training. It was kind of shitty. Are the Raiders really moving to Las Vegas? Yes. They'll be here in, like I said, not this next season, but the season after that. They're building the stadium right now just south of the Strip. It's going to be chaos. All the branches are hurting right now. They're looking for educated, smart people. It happens sometimes. I've heard that it's really difficult for the military to find people that are physically up to the task. People like 19, 20-year-old kids are having weird injuries because they're so unused to physical activity that they're like dislocating their hips on runs and ruck marches and stuff like that. So it's bizarre. They're just sitting on their asses playing video games all day, and they got soft soy bodies, and they can't even handle the rigors of basic training. You really think Nevada is better than Florida? Really? I don't know if it's better. In a lot of ways, probably not. I really like Vegas. I just like the dry weather. I like being able to drive out into the desert and shoot things. I like it better than where I was in Florida. If I had a ton of money and like lived in Miami or something, maybe it'd be better. But I don't. It's too wet and soggy there for me. If I had a shitload of money and lived on the beach in Florida, I'd probably like it better. But in general, I love Vegas a lot. Been there way too much. It happens. There's a normal city outside the Strip, though. It's not just all partying in the casinos, unless you want it to be. What would your suggestion on reaching out to your prepping group after shit hit the fan or after shit has hit the shredder? Bug in or bug out, because a lot of these prepping groups are sometimes miles apart. That's something that you guys have to come up with on your own. It depends on your logistics, your location, what the event is. But what I definitely would recommend is having a dedicated method of communicating with each other, whether that's setting up some sort of shortwave system, something like that. Because obviously you have to have a way to communicate, especially if you're miles apart. And those technology is readily available. And you just need to maybe put it in a Faraday cage or something, and then have an SOP for what happens and what frequency you'll use, what time of day you'll contact each other, maybe coming up with something like first light or noon, or every so hours, just so if your clocks are broken or you don't have any way to schedule things, that you'll at least have a location, or a time. You could even, if they're closer than miles away, you could schedule have a dead drop location, where if you need to leave a message and you don't know when they're going to be able to get to it, have some location, a mutual location in town where you can leave some sort of signal or sign, and that they can swing by whenever they get the chance. Anything like that. But you just got to come up with it ahead of time, because once stuff happens, that's not the time to do it. We have an entire generation who can't figure out what bathroom to use, can't take jokes, and throw out their hips marching. Meanwhile, Russia's setting up shop in Venezuela for reasons. Yeah, and China's setting up shop in Africa, basically. They're basically colonizing Africa. to go after the rare earth minerals and all that stuff and just more space. How you doing, Alan? I was thinking shorter Abraham radio, definitely. Yeah, if they're close enough, you could even do type of CBs and even just like walkie-talkies, or some of the good ones are out to a mile or so. I am sipping on some terrible corn syrup from a sub shop, local sub shop, and I got my water here too for more healthiness. Shortwave or ham is, yeah, exactly, stuff like that. But you got to figure it out ahead of time, come up with codes you want to use. You don't necessarily want to just use plain speech in case someone's listening. And I'm not talking about like the North Koreans or something, but if you're like, hey, bring over the water and the guns, you know, yeah, probably not the best idea, just in case anyone's. Any thoughts on scopes? Some guys say it should cost half as much as a rifle. What say you? I've expensive scopes and I've used cheap ones. And as I've mentioned in my previous video, a lot of the things that when it comes down to it is just reliability with the cheaper ones. Like the scope, it still works, you know what I mean? So I have a loopholed scope on my Remington VTR, my .308 rifle, and I've got $120-ish red dot scope that I put onto my AR-15. Those are perfectly fine. You know, you could get an ACOG or something really expensive, but you don't need to. You just need something that's going to work for you. So try some stuff out. I think any rule like that, like half as much as a rifle, that doesn't really make any sense, because you want a specific level of performance. If I have my $500 AR-15, why would I want a different scope than on my $3,500 AR-15 or something like that? Obviously, if you're trying to spend more overall, you're going to get a different scope, but not just because the rifle's worth more or less. I think you should look. That's one of those categories where I think you should look to spend as much as you need to get the performance and the features that you want, and then not spend any more than that for any reason. Do you smell marijuana? Do you smell marijuana a lot in Vegas? Every day. It's just constantly, you're just like, whoa, whew. Not so much just around town, but on the Strip or Fremont, every single time you go. It's impossible to not smell it. It's legal here now, for those of you who don't know. So it's just, you smell it constantly. No, but yeah, I mean, as opposed to anywhere else, it's Vegas is every single time you go anywhere downtown or Strip. You just smell it. Because it's perfectly legal. So what do you do if you have to leave normal life because the sitch is so bad? Don't let anyone know you're a doc. You'll be in high demand by very bad hombres. Depends. I mean, you could leverage that too. So, but I wouldn't go walking around with a shirt that says I'm a doctor. But, you know, maybe there'll be some community or something that could really use your services, and I would definitely tell them. Learn to shoot, then get a scope. I agree. A scope is not a shortcut or like a cheat code for shooting well. It's just for shooting at distance, you know, greater distances, or for accurate sight. Like the red dot scopes are just for quickly getting a sight picture, but learn the fundamentals. Don't just think I'll get a scope and make it better. Look at my previous question. I didn't see it. Can you smoke kratom? I don't think you can. What do you think about the government shutdown? I hope Trump holds firm. How long have you been prepping? I've been prepping in some form or another since I was you know, mid-teenager, like 14, 15. So 20 years. What do you do for a living? Right now, I do a lot of various side hustles. I get some YouTube revenue. I sell some stuff on Amazon and eBay. I do some affiliate sales, all sorts of little stuff like that. I'm looking to see I'm looking around for local jobs, because I want enough money to buy a motorcycle and stuff like that, and I'm not making enough to do all the things that I want to do. So I will be trying to find a local job at some point. But I've got sorts of random hustles. Is it the wall to protect us or to contain us, in your opinion? I think it's to protect us, because if it was to contain us, it would be up like that. There would be no beef about it. They would have it up so fast. Red Dawn started when I was a kid. Started me when I was a kid. Yeah, Red Dawn is fantastic. I was just listening to 1 Second After on audiobook. Fair point. Yeah, 100% support having the wall. I also 100% support the wall. Let's see your food storage. Maybe I'll make a video about it at some point. I have some of it here. I have some of these are the freeze-dried eggs, and I got some of the legacy samples down here and stuff like that. So I'll make a video on that at some point. Look into courier work, part-time stat work. Yeah, I'll have to check that stuff out. Should I bug out early or stay in town and continue to work at my local hospital until it's no longer possible? Have a secure bug out location. It depends on how far away your location is, what it would take to get there, what the event itself is, and what your personal feelings are in the matter. There's no easy answer for that question without knowing the situations. But I mean, if it's you don't just want to leave early and get fired or something when it's not and when it doesn't end up being that serious a situation. But at the same time, you don't want to wait until it's hopeless and you're going to have a really hard time getting to your location. I'm looking for an affordable, good quality wood burning stove or wood burning furnace. Any suggestions? I mean, if you're talking about little like stoves, and then you can get like a solo stove or Eco. What's the one? The Eco Zoom, I think, is one of the other ones that I have. I'll have to make a video on this soon. If you want like a big wood stove, like a potbelly stove or something like that, I don't have a lot of experience with those. I'm from Florida, so we didn't have to use wood stoves a lot. What do you think about dropping snakes from gyrocopters? Apparently it works. It'll be hard to have the GoFundMe at 1 billion. It's just growing and growing now. Yeah, 1 billion's a bit much for a GoFundMe. I think they're up to 19 million or something. That's a far cry from 1 billion, but it's impressive nonetheless. The wall should come with statues of Trumps every half mile. That's not a bad idea. Hey, Lord Among Us, longtime lurker. Appreciate it. Just subbed recently. Appreciate that. Love your new goals for Channel 19. Good luck. Thank you. Love the movie series you do. Thank you. It's going to keep going. I'm still keeping up with that. I got a couple more movies. Yes, you can smoke kratom, but the effects are minimal. It's best to eat it in powder plant. Yeah, that's what most people do. What type of motorcycle? I like cruisers. I had a couple of Harleys back in Florida, just Sportsters, but they're actually some of the quickest Harleys are the Sportsters, unless you get into like the what are the ones? V-Rods or something, I think. But 1200 Sportsters are pretty quick, great for bombing around town. I wouldn't mind getting a Fat Bob or something like that with a full-size engine. But yeah, cruisers, I like Harleys specifically. The sun oven that works great, everyone should have one. I totally agree. That has now become my main plan for cooking in a shit hit the fan scenario. I have alternate methods. I have some propane for gas stoves up there because you got it. It's not always feasible, but they work fantastic. What are the benefits of having a sun oven? I saw the vid, but I just didn't understand having one if you have a stove. First of all, it's endless, no fuel. I mean, even no matter what your method of cooking is, it takes a considerable amount of fuel if you're talking about 6 months to a year of cooking, purifying water, warming stuff, water for bath. That's a lot of fuel, regardless of what you're talking about. So the main benefit is endless supply of fuel. It can last for 20 years, 30 years without resupply. And it doesn't create fumes or smoke or anything like that. How's everybody going? What's up, Chief Chef? The wall will have a rump bust with laser eyes. I think you mean a Trump bust. A rump buster. Think about getting a sun oven. Hard to argue not needing to look for fuel to burn. Yeah, exactly. Very, very huge benefit. Even if it's just your backup. If you have a ton of wood, a ton of gas, having the sun oven as a way to even cook 10, 20% of your meals would save a ton of fuel. You can pasteurize water with it while you just put water in there for so long, go about your business, come back, and the water has been pasteurized. You could even soften or melt plastics in it for creating different types of things. You can do all sorts of stuff in there. Honda Magna 750, right on. Barrel stove kit. Survival fiction books, any suggestions? Like Lights Out and Patriots. I like both of those. I'm actually just started one of his sequels. So I'm only a little bit into it. Oh, don't look at that. These are these are those escort cards that they force on you on the strip. So I use them as free bookmarks. I'm not going to show because it's almost X-rated on there. Hilarious stuff. These guys like hand them out to you on the strip, and I just use them for bookmarks. Yeah, I like Lights Out too. Check out ones that you haven't heard of called Quantum Storms on Amazon about a massive, like not even an EMP, but the sun rages out of control to a point where it like roasts everything and you have to move underground. Do you know what the price of the sun oven is? It's around $300. If you look at the link in my description of the videos that I did, there you can get a deal where you get like $75 off by using the coupon code. I don't even get any money for that. It's just that they gave this one to me for free, which I was like, yes. And then the coupon code is for you guys. So I think with my code, you can get the entire kit for like $275, which is a fantastic deal. You get all the pots, you get the pasteurization thing, you get the rack for dehydrating, and this thing will last for like 20 years of daily use, as long as you don't kick the shit out of it. Only drawback to the solar oven and shit the fan would be a smell attracting people and critters. True, but that's not specific to the sun oven. That's just to cooking in general. No matter what you're using to cook, there's going to be a smell. So that really doesn't have anything to do with the sun oven. other than maybe it would be outside where you would have been cooking inside before, maybe. But Lucifer's Hammer, yeah, I can't believe I forgot that one. That's one of my favorites. Old school book about a comet and these crazy, like, huge cult marauder groups that arise after it and have to fight them. Pretty good stuff there. You can make your sun oven for much less. You can make one. You can. I'm not going to say you can't, but this works so much well with the hard part about making your own is getting it so that there's an actual, like, seal, because it makes quite a bit of difference if the hot air can just escape. That makes more difference than you would think. You can certainly make your own, and it wouldn't be that difficult, but that's the key step that you need to get right, is making sure that the glass lid closes in a way that there's like a good seal on it, and you'll have a way better results. It's not an essential feature, but you'll get much better results. 30 minutes and going strong. Hey, Kanzi, thanks for doing the, what are they called? Where you put the timestamps on some of my videos. Appreciate that. Bushnell makes pretty good scope for the money. Yeah, they're not bad. Favorite Fortnite channel? Mine's Lasering. I am not a gamer. I haven't played a console or PC game in years. I play Yahtzee on my phone sometimes. It's not even real Yahtzee. It's a fake free version called Yahtzee. Those homeless folks in LA sure know how to survive and shit the fan. I wouldn't call what they're doing surviving, but they're alive. So I guess you could argue that. All right, so we're going to get into, yeah, Hulk smash the like button. Thank you, guys. Do it. I'm going to mention real quick the channel that I've been watching recently. It's not a brand new channel. It's about 6 months old. Has about 30 or 40 videos, and I've liked them all so far. And that is Let's Talk About Prepping. So you should, when I finish the live stream, I'll put the link in the description. So go ahead and check him out. He's got a really rational, reasoned way of discussing the topics. A little bit of humor mixed in there too. Cool stuff from him. So I'm glad to see that. I think his name is Tyler. And go check that out. And I'll try to come up with a channel like that every week that I can let you guys know that you might not have heard of. Because he only has like 150 subscribers, maybe 160. So go check him out. Let's Talk About Prepping is the channel. I've watched pretty much all his like videos so far. I've gone back through his library and watched them all. They're all decent. American Apocalypse by Nova. Good books, but kind of too mythical. Yeah, there's some of them get weird with zombies or other weird stuff. The Stand honestly isn't bad for the first part about just the shit at the fan type stuff. Once it gets into the actual main plot of like the good versus evil, it just becomes, you know, a different kind of book. But does your girlfriend like prepping? Does she participate, or it's just kind of your thing? It's mostly my thing. She definitely doesn't like not like it, and she sees the importance of it. Definitely doesn't think it's stupid or anything like that, but she's not a prepper, and she wouldn't be doing most of this stuff if it weren't for me. So for the most part, it's incumbent on me to make sure that we're both prepared. At least for like the long-term serious stuff. She understands, you know, the self-defense stuff, the, you know, minor preparations, but for like long-term shit, the fan preparedness and stuff, that's all me. Short-term water purification versus long-term homemade 55-gallon water purification. Both are good, but a lot of the cheap plastic purifiers will break within a short time. Yeah, that's why I mentioned in my last video about the things that you should not skimp on is that water filtration is important. And I mean, purification, let's put it that way. Filtration is just removing particulate matter. But that's why something like the sun oven is important, because even if all your filters break, you can at least pasteurize it. So there's multiple concerns with water. One is something in the water, chemicals, particles that are bad for you. And then the other would be biological contaminants like bacteria and viruses, things like that. That's actually a lot easier to take care of, which is good because that's usually the bigger threat. If you go and get water collected in nature somehow, a lake, rainwater. Rainwater is usually pretty safe, but you still want to deal with it. Rainwater, river water, whatever. Then boiling it or pasteurizing it with the sun oven, heating it up to kill everything is a pretty safe bet. Certainly if you go far as distilling it or something like that. And then beyond that, you're just talking about the chemicals and particles in the water. Physical particles can be filtered out with even coffee filters and things like that. Chemical or, you know, different types of contaminants like that are harder to deal with. Distilling works really well for stuff like that, gets almost everything out. I think even stuff like fluoride and certainly salt and stuff like that you can get rid of with distillation. The only thing that distillation doesn't work for is any sort of like oils or kind of industrial contaminants like from gasoline or alcohols, because that stuff actually evaporates even sooner than the water does. So it would carry up with the contaminants as well. So if you got it from like parking garage runoff, it might have a lot of oils and stuff in the water like that. The one thing you can do is, because that stuff is usually different types of solvents and stuff that have a different specific gravity than water, is you can let it sit and the bad stuff will actually come to the top. And you can, if you make a container that has a drainage device in the middle of the container as opposed to the top or bottom, you can sort of siphon off that water, or even make kind of like a like aquaponics have that, I forget what they call it, but it just skims. It's a filter that skims the very top of the water, and that goes out and is wasted. Thanks for stopping by, Michael. Truth Pepping only just started my channel. 20 subs, about to spice it up. I'll check it out. Thanks. Have you taught her how to shoot? Yeah, she's shot with some family before. I've definitely gone with her, but that was a few times. So she knows how to shoot. But one of my actual goals for 2019 is to make sure that she's comfortable with, specifically with all the various firearms that I have. Because while she does know how to shoot and is relatively comfortable with firearms in general, I have several different guns, and some of them are significantly different. Some the safety you have to push up, some you have to push down, some don't have safeties. It's different rifles. One's bolt action. I've got a shotgun, different magazines, different ammo. So I want her to be more comfortable with that stuff, so that in a stressful situation, she can just grab it and not be flustered trying to figure it out on the fly. Even though in general, yes, she knows how to use guns. And in like a range situation, she wouldn't be struggling. I want to make sure that she's really comfortable with that stuff. So that's going out with her at least a few times this year. Have you used Aquabrick solvent overstock? I really like the idea, especially for people in an apartment living without space. For me, it's not worth the price because I can just buy the 50-gallon drums and put them in the backyard. But if you have to put them in your inside, I think they're fantastic. You can fit them under beds. You can make the entire floor or back wall of your closet water without losing space. You can put them into vehicles pretty easily. So that they're good. They're just not cheap when you start talking about buying multiples of them. But these can sort of serve the same purpose, but I don't even know if these are even cheaper. These are like 40, 50 bucks. I think the water bricks might be about the same, maybe a little bit more, and they stack better. But if you're talking about the bottom of a closet or sliding under your bed, you can get 5 or 10 of these under a bed pretty easily. Bottom of your closet against the back wall of your closet and not even see it. If you want to, you could even put a few of these or stack a whole layer of those aqua bricks in your closet. Put a piece of drywall or plywood in front of it, or not plywood even, but the thin stuff. I forget what they call it. Really thin plywood. And no one would even know it's there. And you'd only lose about 8 inches from the back of your closet. Totally doable. Are the Centurion shotgun shells in the bandolier behind you? Yeah, I think they are. I know I have some of the Centurion. No, these are Cellular and Bellet. I do have some Centurion ones. They have like one big ball and then some buckshot as well. Pretty cool stuff. Does Bluebell have a ton of flavors in stores in Vegas, or is it just a Southern thing? I'm not an ice cream person. I have no idea. I haven't looked at ice cream here. I know what Bluebell is, but with things getting crazier day by day, especially since release of the NIAC report, have you been getting a bad feeling something might happen soon? I don't know if it's described as a bad feeling, but I definitely am feeling, even Prepper Princess mentioned this in one of her recent videos, and I feel it too. I definitely feel like there's a higher chance of things happening now than there have been in the past few years. And yeah, so it could just be because people are talking about it, could be legitimate premonition, who knows? I'm not too much into that woo-woo stuff, but I definitely think there's something to be said for mass human kind of group emotions, and just, the mood, the vibe of the world is different now than it's been in the past. So it's an interesting situation. It's my wife and me that take turns to watch vids. It's more entertaining than cable TV. I agree. I don't even have cable. I haven't had cable in a decade. In fact, I've only ever had it when it was included in my rent in one of my college apartments. I've never paid for cable. It was like 8 3.5-gallon bricks for $100. That's not too bad at all. So you're talking for $100, you're getting, 40 gallons or something. No, 8 times 4 will be 32. So it's less than 32, 30 gallons or something like that. I would suggest getting a bathtub water bladder for apartment dwellers, something you can fill up with short notice. Yeah, that's good for short notice. you know, but you might not be able to, you might not have any notice. You know, you definitely want to have at least some on hand that's already stored away. What striking martial art are you thinking about? Muay Thai and just kickboxing? If I can't get that, then straight up Western boxing. Thank you, Colorado Biker Prep. But I want to include as much of the striking techniques as possible. And Muay Thai includes most of that stuff. You know, if you got the elbow strikes, the knees, the kicks, the low kicks, all that stuff. And then you can even add in some Taekwondo stuff if you want, like the stuff that works. And I mean, Taekwondo stuff works. It's just their rule set's different. So people who train aren't the same. And a lot of it's a little flashier and harder to do well than a simple Thai kick or something. But like spinning back kicks, that stuff really does work. Question mark kicks, the hook kicks, whatever they call them, that stuff does work. Axe kicks, it's just hard to do well. It takes a lot more skill and technique. So the basic Thai boxing or kickboxing is what I'm looking to get into. Whoops, I lost. Holy shit. We got a lot of comments. Plywood, sometimes known as hardboard. Yeah, okay. Fill Aquawick with M&Ms. I'm gonna have to go through these quick. Sand, activated charcoal, and clay. Well, activated charcoal and clay does not purify water. It removes some contaminants and improves the taste and some filtration, but it won't remove all actual like bacteria and stuff like that. Really thin plywood is called plywood. Checking in. What's up, Shrek PMC? Fiberboard? Maybe that's what I'm talking about. I'm just asking BC Bluebell. Oh, asking if Bluebell came up with king cake flavored and it's only available where Mardi Gras is celebrated a lot. Interesting. Recession is coming. Certainly is. At some point, who knows when. Do they serve biscuits and gravy in Vegas? You can get anything you want here. There's so many different groups of different ethnicities and different so many people in general that you can get a little bit of whatever you want. No matter what you're looking for, that's here somewhere. EBT card's not working if shutdown continues. Yeah, that'll get interesting. I seriously doubt it'll come to that completely. When the chiropractor I watched on YouTube starts talking about freeze-dried food and prepping, it's not. Ooh, which one do you watch? Because I love watching. It's so satisfying to me to watch the popping. I'm just like, oh yeah, pop it, get those pops. And I love going to the chiropractor. And I try to pop my girlfriend. I'm like, here, let me do it. She's like, no, which is probably better. It's probably not safe. And I'm always getting her to like push on my back and stuff. Trump to announce national emergency tomorrow night at 9. Interesting. That's the way you should do it. Say, fuck you guys, we're going over your heads. It certainly is a national emergency. Do you reload? I do not. I will start reloading when I get into, get some more money and I'm able to get into the really long range shooting with like 338, 300, 6.5 Creedmoor, 50 cal, something like that. It makes a lot more sense. When you're talking about, if I'm just shooting range ammo, 45, 9mm, 223, you have to reload an insane amount to really actually make money. And with the time you're spending, it's just not worth it for that basic ammunition. If you're just going to be buying the basic ammunition and not doing special loads or anything like that, it just doesn't make sense. Save your money. Don't waste it on cable entertainment. That's the internet. Yeah, you can get everything on the internet now anyway. Soon there won't even be cable anymore. With a few more years, they're fighting it as hard as they can. But it'll just be internet. There'll still be shows, but it'll be like Netflix. There won't be like cable and internet. I'm surprised it's even lasted this long. They're just that entrenched. What are your thoughts on the protectionism's effect on the economy? I think that in general, you have to do things for the interest of your country. We put ourselves in an interesting position that doing the right thing, even at this point now, with regards to the economy, can have bad effects or painful effects. And so we've kind of got the wolf by the ears, as the saying goes. But as Vox Day pointed out, things like the tariffs, tariffs can't be bad for GDP when you're running a trade deficit. It's just the math. It literally increases the GDP to increase the because of the trade balance. Go watch his stuff on the subject. It's pretty interesting. What type of bow and arrow would you recommend is the best for a fan? Compound or recurve, etc. I'm not an archery expert. I think it would come down to what you're comfortable with. My guess would be that a compound bow would require a little more maintenance and upkeep, and it's just slightly more likely to have some kind of failure, whereas a recurve bow is going to be a little bit more just robust long term, but it probably depends on the bow, things like that. But I would say whatever you're comfortable with, both are going to be relatively effective in terms of how bows work. Spider senses are tingling. Indeed. I recommend Taijutsu and Krav Maga. Yeah, they're interesting. I've seen their stuff. I like the Krav Maga's focus on defenses against like weapons is what's useful, I think, because that's unique. You know, most traditional martial arts aren't going to have disarming, gun disarms and knife blocking and stuff like that. Walmart has 3-gallon water barrels that are stackable, too tall for about $6 a bottle. Not bad at all. And as the channel I was just mentioning, Let's Talk About Prepping has shown, he did a video where he shows that you can use food grade food grade buckets, 5-gallon buckets as decent water storage, and they can stack too, especially if they have the good lids on them. So, and you can get those free a lot of places. You can buy them for a couple bucks and repurpose them. Even Lowe's has food grade barrels for I think $4.50 or something like that. Food grade water buckets. The deep state hates Trump and will do anything to see him fail. I agree. Which means they will take the country down without any reservations at all. I agree. I mean, just look, all you have to do is look at the Federal Reserve. Now, I think that rates should have been being raised a long time ago, but there wasn't a single rate hike for the entire Obama presidency, and they've done like 5 already since Trump's been elected. They're obviously trying to make sure that he takes the blame for the stuff that's been set up since, well, 1913, but all the stuff, this ZERP policy, and they're just trying to put it on his shoulders. Krav Maga, it's Krav Maga. Kravmaga. Recurve, Kanzi recurve crossbow, easy to shoot in fewer parts. Recurve has less parts it can break. That was my suspicion too, that because it doesn't have the pulleys, less pieces and less complexity. In general, less complexity is going to always be more reliable long term. It's just reality. Push kicks are fantastic. A teep, they call it in Thai kickboxing, and you can kind of just with slight modification do a front kick to the jaw and knock people out. But it's good for creating distance. If someone's coming in you a knife, you can bow, and your shoed foot is going to be a little bit more safe to try and block someone with than a punch. And also your legs are a lot longer and more powerful than your arms. So you can, and people are not used to dealing with someone who's good at kicking or strong at kicking. Foot sweeps are fantastic. Low kicks to the knees can really mess people up. I mean, you can watch one good low kick and people go down, man. They're dead leg. You say, oh, that stuff hurts. You get them about 1 inch or 2 above the knee. Boom. Oh, you go down like you've just been shot with a tranquilizing gun. Filtration versus sanitation. Exactly. 2 different things. Does charcoal remove organic? It removes organic compounds of some kind, but it doesn't. If you just pour like cholera water through charcoal, I don't think you're going to be safe. I wouldn't want to risk it. It's so easy to just boil water. Interestingly enough, speaking of boiling, I think it was Praxis Prepper. Somebody did it. When I just found out about his channel not that long ago, he did a video talking about how even botulism, the toxin itself, can be denatured by boiling, basically destroyed and rendered safe by boiling. So if you have a can of vegetables, even if it's bloated and like, and you're like, this stuff is not safe. If you boil that shit for a few minutes, it's going to kill the toxins in there. So it probably will be gross since it's been basically fermenting or whatever, but you will at least be able to kill the botulism toxin. You might be farting your guts out eating semi-rotten green beans or whatever, but I wouldn't waste it for green beans. There's only like 60 calories in a whole can of green beans. But if you have a can of some potatoes or something. People like to criticize Trump for the shutdown, but we've had tons of shutdowns before and nothing bad has happened. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they just like to criticize Trump, period. And they could have easily made this go away. Everyone has their own stupid pet projects that they're spending billions on. You're yelling at him for pulling out of Syria, which was fantastic. That needed to happen. And think of how much money we'll save just by pulling out of these few places in the Middle East for the next 20 years. The wall is like nothing. And they admit to how much money is going to the illegal aliens. It's tons of money. It's not even close to how much is going to be spent on the wall. It's so much more. What's up, Bug Out Bubba? Thanks for stopping by. Jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, in my opinion. Exactly. I mean, it doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu. It can be catch wrestling. It can be judo and just emphasize the submissions and stuff like that. Judo is fantastic. I always recommend when people do self-defense, there's the 3 zones. You have the stand-up striking, the grappling and takedowns, and then the actual ground fighting techniques themselves. So stand-up striking could be kickboxing, could be Muay Thai, could be Taekwondo, could be Western boxing. You can even get into the karate, Kyokushin karates, and any of the ones that have real live sparring, you're going to be fine. For the intermediate, actually controlling where the fight takes place, You have judo, you have freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, all those that actually can, like, involve taking people down, stopping takedowns, controlling the position, tie up, stuff like that. And then you have the on the ground skills, catch wrestling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You have judo covers some of that as well with the ground submissions, and wrestling and stuff too. And as long as you got those covered, you'll be at least somewhat effective and dangerous no matter where the fight is. And then you have the ability, if someone can be, it's not hard to find someone who's better than you at one of those things. But if you're very well-rounded and you have the ability to control where the fight takes place, you'll be a huge advantage. That's why you look at fighters like GSP. He wasn't better at everyone. He wasn't better at everything than everyone, but he was better at something than everyone. And he had, because of his exceptional timing with his wrestling and his takedown defense, he was able to control where he wanted the fight to be. So if they're an extremely good striker, he would just wait for his opportunity. He was so good at timing the takedowns, ducking under, changing levels, blast double. And then if he was better striker than them and they were a good wrestler, he would use his wrestling to keep it striking. And that's super, super effective. A good air rifle is best for food acquiring, better than 22 long rifle all day. It depends on what you're talking about, but they're certainly effective. And the good air rifles are about as powerful as the 22. The difference is that the reload time. So for hunting, probably just as good. For hunting birds and squirrels, probably just as good. But the 22 also has the ability to be a defensive weapon or even offensive weapon in a pinch, because you can put a 50-round mag in a 10-22 or something like that. Don't have that capability with an air rifle. But for hunting small game, probably just as good. In fact, it may actually be better because the ammo is cheaper and it's silent. Now, my only concern is I really don't know how these guns hold up over 20 years and thousands of rounds like a 10-22 would. Do these guns have that capability, that kind of really ruggedness? I don't know. If they do, that's fantastic. But I don't know if they do or not. And I imagine it would be harder to repair. Chiropractor I watch is Dr. Bergman. Okay. They never let the tax returns or debt not come. People would begin to wake up. Oh, exactly. The government, that's like all those memes. They're like, the government is shut down. I'm like, is it though? Is it really? Because all the stuff, all the parts where they take money from us, that's still happening. They'll never stop the gravy train. I agree, because it'd be Sarajevo in an instant in these inner cities if that happened. It just will not happen unless I think the only thing that they might do one day is, they might inflate the currency away to where these people can't actually buy anything with their money, but they just will never stop paying them. They can't. It would be absolute chaos within 12 hours. All right, what else we got? Most effective street defense discipline I've ever seen is Western boxing. Jiu-jitsu is fine if it's only one person. Otherwise, with wrestling, you're fucked with multiple people. Striking is fast. Western boxing is incredibly good for just busting people up, man. Like, they move in, you pop them with a couple quick jabs, slip their punches, bam. I've seen fights ended quicker by just solid boxing techniques more than anything else. With that said, the only one-person thing with jiu-jitsu and wrestling, what people don't take into account is that wrestling and jiu-jitsu is so important because it's so bad to be overwhelmed on the ground or something like that. When you admit that it's that dangerous to be on the ground or taken down in a group of people, that's exactly why you want incredible wrestling skills, or judo skills or something. Some guy comes in and grabs you and there's three of his buddies. Only a really good wrestler and grappler is going to be able to stop that. You don't even have to get taken down. But if bam, Uchimata, throw that guy in his head, or some guy tries to grab your leg, bam, good takedown defense. Or if you do get taken down, a black belt in jiu-jitsu is going to be able to get up a hell of a lot faster than some guy who hasn't ever done it. You might be able to instantly armbar this guy or do a fucking flower sweep and throw him on his ass and get right back up. So you definitely need to train it, especially if you don't want to stay on the ground. Let's see what we say. Hi, Eric, from Eric. The fellows that sold me the bow said I can up the power by replacing it. Tom Smith, $5 super chat. I appreciate it, brother. Thanks a lot. I will give you safe passage to the wasteland. Taijutsu teaches advanced techniques for multiple opponents. Yeah, the main thing for multiple opponents, nothing changes. You still just have to, there are unique problems, but the main thing is you want to just use solid striking technique and movement so that you're not surrounded or pinned. If you've seen videos of guys effectively dealing with multiple attackers, they're using crisp boxing, just like stiff jabs and right straights, two or three quick punches and moving on, throwing them out of the way and moving on to the next guy and constantly moving in a way that they can't get pinned against a wall or totally encircled. My Hatsun Big Bore Carnivore 30 cal 7.62 is the world's most powerful break barrel air rifle. Highly recommended headshots at 100 yards. That's impressive. How long have you been a competitor in martial arts? I have only done one actual competition, which I showed footage of, and that was a jiu-jitsu tournament I did only about 6 months after I started. So I started, the first time I ever did martial arts was a long time ago, probably about 2007. So it's been that long since the first time I did it, but I have not at all been doing regular training. It's been years. My total combined amount of training, if you're talking about like 2 or 3 classes a week, maybe a year and a half. And I'm better than I should be for that amount of training, better than I deserve, but I'm woefully below where I want to be. It's really fun and so necessary. And I would go back for like a month or 2 at a time and then just have horrible consistency. Each state in the U.S. has minimum poundage for hunting. In Texas, 40 pounds. Interesting. Do you want to remain on your feet at all costs? Even kicking leaves you open for takedowns. Stay on your feet and drop bombs. Cover your head. Yeah, it depends. I mean, sometimes you'll see openings and you want to take advantage of them, especially like a low kick to the leg. It's not that risky of getting, losing your footing if you do it well and they're not some kind of wrestler. And if they are a wrestler, they're going to be going for the takedown anyway. That's why it's so important. Because if someone was like an NCAA champ or something and they decide to kick your ass, you're going to be on your back. There's no stopping it. Doesn't matter if they have 50 buddies or none. They're gonna put you on your back if they're big, strong wrestler type. So that's why you need to make sure you have these techniques. So bam, as soon as you maybe grab them in a guillotine choke. If you are a black belt in jiu-jitsu, or even you don't have to be a black belt, you're purple, brown, you're a high level jiu-jitsu guy. I've seen fights ended in less than 10 seconds on the ground. So even just the act of jumping at them and getting in that range, the instant they touch you, they've got you in some kind of a choke or a joint lock, and you're done. A guillotine choke from the front. This happens in pro fights, even with other pro fighters. It's certainly some drunk bum on the street who just pushes you over. You can end the fight quickly on the ground, and before their buddies even realize what's happening, then you can get up real quick. The only wrestling I do these days is in bed, wrestling the blanket from my wife. I feel that one. Where we go. Boxing defense is 90% footwork. Yeah, so much movement, and then keeping head movement and footwork is boxing. And then just making sure your strikes are crisp and not trying to come in with these like crazy shit like that. But even if you do just throwing haymakers, if you've locked in your footwork and your head movement, you're still probably going to win. Started boxing is very effective. However, they tend to not know how to handle a good kicker. Yeah, exactly. No one knows how to handle techniques that they've never seen before. That's why it's important to train in all of the various striking, standing up, grappling, and then groundwork. And kickboxing includes boxing techniques, It just also adds in kicks, knees, elbows if you're doing Thai boxing and stuff like that. When training for any kind of fight, setting up different scenarios when training is the best way to prepare for a variety of situations. That's how it goes with anything. Train hard, fight easy, as they say, or otherwise phrases, cry in the dojo, laugh on the battlefield. Practicing multiple martial arts for about 25 years now, but the best thing I ever learned was to be able to improvise in a situation and to not get out of the situation before it becomes a fight with 3 people or whatever. It's interesting to note that even Frank Mir, a 265-pound former UFC heavyweight champion, black belt, high-level black belt in jiu-jitsu, massive power, he still carries a gun and a knife. So Swordwood is useful. Most fights last less than 30 seconds from my experience. Yeah, against just 2 randos, of course. Usually someone is very quickly overwhelmed. It does not take much training to be better than typical bum on the street. That's true. But as the guy I trained with said, we don't train to fight, or we don't train techniques to beat people who don't know what they're doing, because any technique beats them. We train to fight people who know what they're doing. Because once you are good at that, you'll still beat the people who don't know what they're doing. But then you also have a good shot against people who know what they're doing. Are you in Las Vegas now? If so, we should meet next time we're in town. I am in Las Vegas. By the way, the man, keep up the great work. So I appreciate it, brother. Dad on YouTube. Multiple attackers can be tough to defend against, even for extremely skilled guys. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why it's important to carry other methods of self-defense, like pepper spray. It's great for multiple attackers, maybe even better than a gun. because you can just get them all, and even if it just kind of misses. I'm in functional shape for bugging out. You don't have the fighter's fitness is a new territory for me. It is. That's the biggest. That was my biggest weakness, was just cardio. Man, I just get gassed so easy. It's incredibly taxing to do any kind of combative physical activity, wrestling, striking, anything like that. One compliment is one of my friends asked me, or asked the guy that I was training with, who was teaching me. He was like, "Is Eric any good?" And he kind of thought for a second, and he was like, "He can take a hell of a beating." So that's a good compliment, I guess. Most people have no idea how to fight, so anything would be good enough. I mean, anything's better than nothing, but you want to be good. You don't just want to be better than the average bum. I'm 43. I can't allow myself to get in hand-to-hand fights anymore. Now it has to. Yeah, I mean, you should never want to get in them. Everyone should have. Even like I said, even Frank Mir carries a gun and a knife, and he could destroy 99.99% of people on the planet. Another thing, cardio is a huge part. It's a massive part. If you're out of shape and don't even have 30 seconds in you, even jog. Oh yeah, exactly. To do your road work. I heard that fighter fitness takes thick and skin for taking hits more than giving them. Is this true? That fighter fitness takes thick and skin? I mean, if you have thinner skin, you're going to split and bleed more. That's not necessarily going to mean you lose the fight, because in like a street fight or self-defense situation, you're not going to stop the fight from a cut. So you might get more fucked up physically, but the thinness of your skin doesn't necessarily affect your chin or anything like that. So you might just look worse and feel worse for afterwards. But some people have that rhino skin, and they just think, I've got that curse of the white man. I mark up and bleed and everything else really easily. Meet up for a collaborative video. Okay, let me know. It's rulethewasteland@gmail.com. Check out The Rover, Good Shit the Fan movie. That's the one with the Australian one, right? I haven't watched that one yet. My kids and I all train jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. Excellent, man. Excellent. New to this prepper channel. Looking forward to watching more content. Appreciate it. It takes less energy to get hit than to hit someone. You'll last longer. It does. Rover was good. What's up? From point A to point Z. Body conditioning works. I mean, in a literal sense, like you can't kick through a baseball bat with your shin like those Thai boxers do without conditioning. But in terms of, there's certain things that you don't just want to do. Like you don't just want to, like something like your chin is not going to get better from getting punched in the head more. It actually tends to get worse. But physically, yeah, you're thin. Your skin can callus. Your bones will actually thicken from repeated impact. That's why people, and your fists and things like that, you can improve those, or your arms, your shins, all that can definitely, body hardening is a real thing. Conditioning like that, yeah, for sure. You just have to start slow and not, beat the hell out of yourself. Specifically like shins, abs, stuff like that. You can, and like your legs from the low kicks, you can all get used to taking hits there and get much better at it. Yeah, recovery is hugely important. You can train. There's very few things that you can't improve related to your body or your mind or whatever that you can't improve with dedicated focus to it. It's endurance, recovery, like conditioning of your limbs and everything like that. All that stuff can be improved. Can you do a basic intro video on how to condition body harden yourself? I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I can look into it, and I know how they do it. And usually it just involves repetition, starting, sometimes they'll punch into rice, a bucket of rice or something like that, or even just a heavy bag, or you start kicking just the bag, and then you move up to like rolling bottles or dowels on your shin to thicken the skin and deaden the nerves. And then the Thai guys will go out there and kick banana trees and stuff like that. You don't want to do anything too crazy. For most people, repeatedly kicking pads is going to be plenty good enough, and it'll harden your body that way. And blocking, padded shin kicks and stuff like that. Walks are hugely important. If everyone just walked for an hour and a half, or a half an hour to an hour every day, there would be a lot less medical issues in this country. Certainly, I don't think that's enough to get to the level of fitness that you would want to be for preparedness purposes. But if you're not at least walking for like a half an hour or something every day, and I definitely think that everyone should do some kind of resistance training too. It has so many benefits, everything from like mental clarity to bone density to pretty much every biomarker you can measure improves with regular resistance training, whether that's weightlifting of any kind to body weight training, pull-ups, push-ups. You've got to do some kind of calisthenics, got to do some resistance training. I walk with my vulture bag too fully loaded every night after I eat. Good deal. Bought a $22 bidet on Amazon. No toilet paper storage needed. As long as you have water. Help me lose 10 pounds. Nice work. Nice work. Yeah, dog will make you walk a lot. 1 hour, 2.5-mile walk every day. Yeah, that's great, man. That's necessary. Yeah, 10,000 feet. Nice. We're only 2,000 feet here in Vegas. Just back from the gym. Excellent. Glad to hear it. Got to get those gains. A lot of my goals for 2019 were gains-related goals. So I'm glad to hear people have to visit the muscle dungeon too. I'm lucky I've managed to build myself a really legit home gym here. So it kind of sucks right now because it's cold outside, but it's right there. Don't got to wait on machines. Do whatever goofy exercises I need to. Circuits, whatever. It doesn't matter. You mentioned one jiu-jitsu competition, making weight for comps and experiencing calorie deficit on occasion is great. Yeah, I had to make weight for that one, but it wasn't that hard. That was back when I was just walking around at pretty much like 155, and I went to the 155. I could have easily made 145 if I wanted to do any sort of actual cut. I'm soft now. I probably could weigh in if I cut down the same body fat. I need to lose a few pounds. We do have the extreme temperatures in the summer for sure. Yeah, you'll get dried out walking here. Your sweat pouring off you. Ever see a man walk by a punching bag and not punch it? Yeah, it doesn't happen. I have a punching bag out in my gym. It's in our DNA. Put a bag up in your garage. I do 8x3-minute rounds. Yeah, if you want to get totally fucking smoked and have an excellent workout, set up a heavy bag. Even you can do it without the heavy bag and just do shadow boxing, but especially with the heavy bag, and find the Boss Rutan MMA workout, or even the boxing workout too. It has different ones. It will roast you like nothing else. Yeah, man, do the cardio, everything. What's your favorite kind of cheese? I love cheese, man. I like Swiss is really good. I like Gouda. I like the little Baby Bell, whatever they're all, the round cheeses. I like cheese in general. Yeah, garbage bags and spit all day. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Get in the sauna, sweat it out. Kenpo. There's, like I said, all these karate and stuff, the techniques can work. It all depends on the rule set that you train under and whether you're doing real competition with a resisting opponent. The problem with a lot of these traditional martial arts, even stuff like Taekwondo, is not that these arts are bad for self-defense or the techniques are bad, is that the people train under a very restrictive rule set, and they don't actually train at like combat speed. They don't train ever at like actual sparring. You don't need to do hard sparring, knocking each other out every day, but you need to regularly test your techniques against someone who's trying to stop you from doing it and is trying to get you as well in some sort of competitive environment, and do so with a more wide rule set. Like a lot of these karate competitions, they involve like you're not allowed to hit the head. So like in the Kyokushin stuff, they're like hitting to the body, and it completely changes the way you stand, your whole tactics for the competition, because of that limited rule set. Same with like Western boxing. Boxing techniques are fantastic, and you'll roast someone who hasn't trained. But if there's someone who's trained and they have a wider rule set, leg kicks, submissions, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage. It roasts you pretty bad. Yeah, boxing is tough, man. Holding your arms up, your delts get just tired. That's why you see people this after a while. That's hard to hold your arms up. Yeah, most martial arts are for competition, not combat, and the rule sets reflect that. Even jiu-jitsu, you're seeing in the gi jiu-jitsu that you're not even allowed to do any sort of leg locks or even get in that position in what they call leg reaping, or you'll get disqualified. And that's like, that doesn't train you for real life. I mean, obviously, you're a lot less likely to come across someone doing a leg lock on you in a street fight, so it's not as big of an issue. But if you're training for self-defense, you don't want to limit things. You don't want to just not have to worry about anything. You want everything to at least be on your radar. Competition is not limited and unapplicable in advanced self-defense. I mean, it depends, because yeah, you're right. Any sort of limitation doesn't apply in a advanced scenario. But as long as you're doing actual competition with a fairly open rule set, you're going to be better off than someone who isn't doing that, just at combat speed. But you need to be aware of what things you're missing from your training. And because people always say like, oh, in a real fight, I would just eye gouge the MMA fighter, because they don't do that. Well, he can decide to eye gouge you too. And he's also better at kicking, punching, grappling, striking, cardio. So who do you think is going to win? Both of you can just decide to eye gouge. The smell of the mat can be nasty. Make sure they might not have been cleaning it well. It should just smell like cleaner most of the time you're on it. That's why I prefer Budo Taijutsu as a combat art as well as Krav Maga. Yeah, they're more you know, self-defense focused, at least Krav Maga. I don't know anything about Budo Taijutsu. Got any questions? Like, for those of you who are just showed up, you can check out the shirts. Teespring. What's your favorite all-around knife? My EDC knife, I mentioned this a few times. I really like the Ontario Rat Folder. I think I propped one up in here. For the price, it's just insane value. It's like a $25 to $27 knife. They feel and look a lot higher quality. I like the flat grind, super ergonomic, very good grip. These I've carried these daily for years, not even noticed any wiggle. You have multiple positions for the pocket clip any way you want it. Open post design so you can clean out if you need to. I'm a fan of the Aussage steel and this blade shape. Very good knife. For I like Tops knives. I really want to get a Steel Eagle, but SE is a really good knife. I've had good luck and very enjoyed using as a cheaper kind of all-around knife the Becker series K-bars. It's the BK6, I think, and the BK9. The only thing I don't like about these knives, which I mentioned before, is the grip. The scales are incredibly smooth and hard to hold on to, and actually at the same time kind of rub against your hand. Now they do. Someone just told me about that you can get replacement micarta ones for these, but they're like 35 or 40 bucks. But I'm definitely going to look into that. But yeah, those are good. There's so many. I like knives in general. I got a whole box of knives back here. I was just hold on. I love Cold Steel a lot too. Cold Steel knives are fantastic. This is a Cold Steel True Flight throwing knife. Got all sorts of stuff in here, man. This is a little Tops knife that I got from one of the battle boxes. Fantastic little knife. I really love their knives as well. Cub. Like I said, I want to get a Steel Eagle. Good stuff. My favorite knife is the one I have on me, the one available to me at the moment. Yeah, exactly. I've been carrying a Spyderco, a couple Spydercos a lot recently. Very cool knives as well. Rat 7 Ontario, good stuff. Cold Steel, yeah, Cold Steel is fantastic, and they're like invincible. They have whole DVDs of their torture testing and stabbing car hoods and everything. They're just incredibly robust. Jumped into the martial arts topics. Good to know. I like my functioning skinning butcher knife. Exactly. Yep, answering lots of stuff. What was the first 50 minutes of the stream about? Anyone listening from the top? I mentioned an interesting tidbit of embarrassing info about one of my last videos. I mentioned a channel you guys should all check out that's just for basically getting started called Let's Talk About Prepping. He's only got about 150 subscribers, but he's already got like 30 or 40 videos, and they're all decent. I think I've watched every single one. Do you have any training with knife fighting techniques? No, not training. I've seen a few videos on the subject, and most of the knife training or knife defense stuff you'll see is complete garbage. But I think it was Mark Animal Young was the one. And you know, anybody who's doing knife defense stuff, you know they're legit or at least more legit, if their first piece of advice is always, do not get in a knife fight. You do not want to be in a knife fight. There's almost no way to come out completely unscathed. Now, it's if you get in a knife fight, this is what you do kind of thing. And that's much more realistic information, because I'm much more afraid of knives than I am guns in terms of like a close quarter situation, because it's just so easy to just get it's so fucked up from a knife and so hard to come out unscathed. Martial art blade concept. One of the gear reviewers there watch wraps his knife handles with Wilson wrap. He says it helps him rip better. There's all sorts of stuff you can do to the handles, hockey tape, even whatever, you know. Yeah, exactly, Colorado Pepper. That's what I'm saying. You really need to. First rule is you are going to get cut. Exactly. If you just do any of those things that you think you're going to do with a knife, have your buddy with a piece of chalk or a rubber knife and foam and put some chalk on it, or even like grab a marker like this and just try to get them without them getting you. And just realize that every little black mark on you, if they have a sharp knife, would be 2 inches deep and just completely laid open. If you really are not squeamish, just you can find images of what people look like after getting into fights with just even something as simple as a little razor blade. It is not pretty. You do not want to have to deal with that. Exactly. Pick up a chair, anything long. You want to increase distance, get stuff in between you, and chairs, bats, broom, anything just to keep them at distance. Preferably something like a gun or pepper spray or anything else. Yeah, if you have a bigger knife, you're going to be in a better shape. But yeah, it's still probably going to like here. I've got. Oh, where is it? If I get in a knife fight, I'm going to have to pull out my Cold Steel extra large Espada. So, I mean, if you have something like this and you can choke down to here and almost get a machete, that's almost like 18 inches of reach. That wouldn't be too bad. And they might just run away and decide not to be in a knife fight. That's kind of a Crocodile Dundee style. Another Cold Steel. Pretty cool. What worked for you? Oh, let's see. Yeah, get the chair, exactly. Thanks for the recap. Marty sub, let's talk about prepping. Good deal. It does seem like it's going to be a solid channel. That's why I want to help him get up to that like 500,000 subscriber mark where you can really start picking up steam. It's hard in the beginning. It starts slow. Hoshinashi did that with the Sharpie. It was hilarious. Exactly. I don't need a knife. I need a well-stocked first aid kit in a knife fight. Yeah. If you carry a knife, you really, really, really need to learn how to use and retain it. As a bouncer, I've taken knives away from more people than I can count. Yeah, and that goes for guns too, and the issue with a lot of knives is just the leverage, or the handle that's sticking out below it. That's why it usually is a concern for women a lot of times. They seem really worried about, like, they'll put keys and do all this other weird stuff. And I'm like, why don't you just carry a knife or a gun? And knives, they seem to think that they're going to get it taken away from them. And like you said, it is possible. But one of the things that I recommend for them is the K-Bar LDK because of the, not LDK, the TDI. The K-Bar TDI, because of the shape of the handle, and it's a very small blade. So even if they like miss and hit something, there's not a lot of leverage there to pry it out. The handle is like 3 times as long as the blade, and it's curved and ergonomic, and it doesn't really stick out of your hand. So all you have is you have a very ergonomic handle and just a tiny little sharp blade that sticks out. So it's very hard to lose control of that knife. And if you add it in like a lanyard or something like that, it's not going anywhere. Reminds me of Spartacus. They had painted on the practice swords. Yeah. Super grip slim battle belt. Very nice. Cool deal. Once you're in a knife fight, you will have empathy for the fillet of fish. Yes. Yeah, it is a big knife. It's hilarious. I have XL Voyager Tonto. Yeah, I have the XL Vaquero too. I love that knife. I would carry that a lot in Florida because the Florida concealed carry permit applied to anything, knives as well. Indiana Jones method of blade fights. Yeah, exactly. That's what you want to do. Picked up a Tops Fieldcraft knife. It's very well thought out knife. Excellent. Trench knife. They're good for piercing. They have a long, thin. They're more like bayonets almost. With they're the ones that usually have the knuckles on them, right? Weapons retention should be critical with any weapons instruction. Exactly. Yeah. I remember watching a CJ Karaji close quarters combat video, and he's talking about going through your house. Like a lot of people, they do the standard position that they've trained for, and they're walking around their house, sticking their arms around the corner so that people see your hands come around the corner before they even see you, and you can get grabbed. So he had this position where he's going around like the house like this, So if someone jumps at you or even comes at you, boom, 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 and they can't grab your knife, you can block their arms, things like that. You just want to make sure you don't flag your own hand. Case makes good affordable knives. 1 hour, 15 minutes of going strong. Appreciate it. Ken Onion, Sierra KT, Chance and Hell on my side. Nice. Zombies don't scare me. Me either. Zombies always seemed easy. Not smart enough to scare me. Even the fast ones. I take out some zombies. Combat Tomahawk. There's some options out there. I think I have the Cold Steel Vietnam Tomahawk here somewhere. Hidden away. Another important thing to consider when you have for your knives, for bug out bags and everything else, knife sharpeners. Even a great knife can become fairly useless if it's completely dull. Bigfoot scare me. The Yetis. They're too flighty. They always run away. Carry a Raptor Bowie knife from M-Tech. I don't like spooks. Talking about spies, right? Shrek PMC. The zombies that scare me. This are the cell phone zombies. Yeah, the NPCs. The empty meat suits wandering around, pointing and attacking anyone who's different. Yeah, Bigfoot never hurt anyone. Leave those Yetis alone, skunk apes. Be sure to check local laws about knives. Exactly. You want to be careful with the knife laws. I will say that I think pretty much anywhere in the country, if you have a slip joint 2 3/4 inch blade knife, you can carry pretty much anywhere. But don't quote me on that. Definitely check. Internet is frozen. Gotta go. Talk to you later. Thanks for stopping by. First time seeing you live. Well, thanks for stopping, or thanks for coming in for you as well. Yeah, thanks, Kanzi. Appreciate it. Have fun. I'm gonna put these away. I've got a whole thing of knives here. I really got to do some straightening up and staging. That's one of my big goals. Most municipalities have laws against knife over 2.5 inches. For concealed, yeah, that's why you want to make sure it's small. I think they usually, yeah, 2.5 to 2 3/4 inches. There's even some restrictive places like California. You can open carry knives. Technically, doesn't mean you won't get harassed by, security and stuff if you have a big knife on you. But even like here, there are no restrictions on open carry. There's only restrictions on concealed carry of knives. Yeah, you always want to be aware of the laws. Last thing you want to do is get in some bullshit technicality trouble because you slipped this down inside your drawers and tried to go in the club. But yeah, good stuff. And one thing I wanted to say about knives is that, goodbye, Frank. Thanks for stopping by. Talking about walking earlier, I couldn't drive home from work. It would take me about 8 hours. Things to think about. Exactly. Maybe even stash a cheap bike at your place of employment, something like that. If you can get one, turns an 8-hour walk into, hour bike ride, 2-hour bike ride, something like that. There's places where Sharpie markers are illegal. Yeah, well. What's in the bottle on the second shelf with the white label? This is colloidal silver that came in one of the battle boxes. Blunt Force Blades, check them out. Okay. CRKT's coming out with cool karambit this month. Okay. I would not bother trying to walk home from work. I'd just spend the night. Yeah, it depends on where you are, what time of day, and things like that, and what the situation is. If it's a really serious situation, you might just not want to waste the time. Civilian on an army post, you're not supposed to have pocket knife over 4 inches. I've yet to see a civilian with one that is compliant with that rule law. Yeah, they're probably talking about the blade, not the total length. So a pocket knife with a blade over 4 inches is actually fairly large. I mean, like this Spyderco right now, this might be 4.5 inches. No, this is 4 1/4. So even this is a fairly large knife, and that's 4 1/4 inch blade. So this one, the Ontario, this is under 4 inch blade, at least the actual blade portion. So it's not that hard to find knives under 4 inches. I mean, that's one of those things. Like most of the time, if you're allowed to carry knives in general, the cops aren't going to be going around with a measuring stick. It just is one of those things that if they want to get you, they can. So it's not worth it, because that can be a big problem to get these charges. Minus 18 overall. In Texas, no length limit. Under 5.5 when you're 1,000 feet of hospitals. Interesting. Good stuff. Silver does not taste good. I've never actually ingested the colloidal silver. Does BattleBox say what the theme is before shipping it? They might. I try not to find out. It might be on the website, but I like to be surprised, so I don't look it up. I don't think they do. Actually, they did. I think they do. I think they do. But they have like teaser emails and stuff, but I like to be surprised. Good night, Truth Prepping. How much food storage are you up to? I'd have to go through and actually add up the calories to really decide, but my goal is 6 months of completely long-term storage. So I'll let you know when I get there. SOG Trident. I live in Florida and have a CWP. You can carry anything legal as long as you said. Exactly. It's nice. In Florida, you could have a trench coat with shotguns, swords, and knives and everything under it, which is awesome. I really like that because that way you didn't have to worry about like, is this good? You just, if you have your CWP and it's illegal to own, you can carry it. Here, it only applies to guns. So you have to actually get a separate, a May issue permit for knives and things like that, which they don't have to give you. Like they have a shall issue concealed carry for weapons, meaning if you meet the requirements, they have to give you the permit. For knives and things like that, you have to kind of petition the sheriff. I don't know what that process is. I'm going to look into it because I don't know if it applies to individually each knife or if you just say, hey, can I carry knives over this? If that's the case, if it's the latter, I'm definitely going to do it. If you have to do it for each individual knife, I might do it for one or two and see what the process is, but that would just be ridiculous. Clodo Silver has no taste. I've spent it on my mouth for a sore throat. Okay, good to know. People's Socialist Republic of Seattle, 3.5-inch blade, no fixed blade, no concealed. Yeah, a lot of them even have restrictions on the type of locking mechanism and stuff, some places. My double action dagger is legal somewhere, I think. Yeah, there's all sorts of rules. How many inches are your arms? I think right now, last time I measured it was 14 and a half. Nothing impressive, but, better than 9-inch soy boys. So I was up to 14 and a half. Trying to get to like 16. Or get 18-inch guns like the USS Missouri. Yeah, if you're in that woods, I always have a knife on me too. Unless I'm going to the airport or courthouse or school or something, or concerts, they always stop you. If I'm not going somewhere where I know they're going to not let me in, I have a knife on me 100% of the time. In fact, even while traveling, I've had to stash knives in like planters and stuff and in the dirt outside of certain tourist attractions because I found out they weren't going to let me in with it. In some cases, I've had to ditch them completely. Even better reason to have cheaper knives, like $25 that you can count on because you can always have it with you. And if you really need to get rid of it or something like that. In fact, that's one of the main reasons I've checked bags a lot of times when I wouldn't be taking enough stuff to justify it otherwise, is to make sure I can travel with knives. Length change usually comes on top of other changes you have to already have messed up. Oh, length charge. Yeah, typically, but if you get into it, and they decide to ruin your day, it's a possibility. And performance-wise, are you really going to be like, what can you do with a 4-inch knife that you can't do with a 3-inch knife? So it's best if at all possible, just to make sure you're not giving them an excuse. It depends. For double-edged blades for concealed carry a lot of times are restricted. Like here, I have to look this up, but I don't think there's many restrictions on open carrying of almost any type of blade. Clemson scored. Mine's double edge and double action auto. I have a weighted chain for my wallet because I'm a biker, never been hassled about it, and they let me take it on a plane. Interesting. That could be using it. And also what you could use with a chain is if someone does come at you with a knife or a bat, you could use it as blocking, try to tie up their arm, throw them or something. Take some practice, but it's doable. Or whip it in their face. Just make sure you don't send your credit cards and cash flying at them when you do it. Oh yeah, you could certainly ruin someone with a chain like that, for sure. If you swing it, you break a hand, knock the teeth out, whatever. That's why I think it's so crazy when they're taught, because you have watch Boss Rutan's Lethal Street Fighting video to get an idea of, like, if you don't think this way already, about how dangerous you can be with just normal items. They get you about having like a tiny little razor blade or a nail clippers or whatever, but they'd let you take a number 2 pencil on the plane. You could sink that into the side of someone's head. Yeah, you'll poke your eye out. I just got here as you're saying in their face. In the face! Pow, right in the kisser. Perfect timing. Yeah, so realizing not getting stuck with functional fixedness and realizing that you can use things to, like we mentioned earlier, chair to create distance. If you're eating somewhere, you could use a tray. Anything that just creates your ability to create damage, Even something like that you can hold in your hand and just use for striking. And that was another thing I was going to say. I don't have keys here, but if you are going to use the whole key thing, don't stick them through your fingers like Wolverine style. Not only is that take time and is weird to do, it's just going to end up breaking your fingers or cutting you. What you want to do is, if you have keys, just grab them in a clump so they're all facing the same way and then hold them like this. to where the ends of the keys are all in the same place against your palm. So, and you're doing it like this, and then just strike like a hammer fist sort of. That's a lot easier to do. It's a lot going to cause more damage. It's more stable and it's less likely to hurt your hand. Of course, I would recommend having a real weapon instead, but using them in like coming out this part or coming out the front is going to be a lot better and more likely to cause damage than just having a few keys sticking through your fingers like Wolverine. Yeah, that was from Family Guy, wasn't it? Power. You can improvise the best weapon is the one you have in your hand. Yeah, exactly. That's another good point. Open palm. If you're not particularly trained in striking, it's probably a lot better idea to strike right with the, and not just like this flat part of your palm, because that'll flex, it's soft, but right above the actual wrist bones, like right there, how you're hitting like right there. Just like bam, that's actually going to be a better hit for most people than using their fist, unless you're pretty trained in striking, and you're a hell of a lot less likely to damage your hand. And if you ever gotten into legal trouble, you could be like, "Oh, I was defensive. I was slapping him, just trying to create distance." Good evening, Count Spookula. Just poop in your own hand and throw it. Might work. Works for monkeys. Vomit on them, whatever. Anything. If you're holding a beverage like this, and you just go and then attack them really quick. The key is to react, to act quickly. If you're in that situation, act quickly, cause as much damage as possible, and if they're not incapacitated, get the fuck out of there. They say things like even some of the old gunfighters like Wild Bill Hickok and stuff, they weren't even so successful because they were just amazing shots or anything like that. Is that they were just really good at realizing when things have turned, reading the situation, reading body language and stuff like that, and acting first most of the time, not giving other people a chance. That's good. You don't want to be in a fight. I got a monkey fist trying to figure out how to use it. Oh, is that the knot, right? Not a rope. I mean, watch the old Death Wish movie. You can put a change in a sock. The element of surprise can be a fight multiplier. Exactly. It's preemptive. If you realize that you're going to have to fight this person no matter what, you might as well try to get as whatever advantages you can. Yeah, he ripped Joe's neck out. Didn't the what's his name bite someone's dick off too? Or he didn't bite it off, he just bit him on the Johnson. What's his name? The nerdy guy with the mullet. Eugene, that's what it was. Yeah. Bit him on the dick. Bizza Rizza Gizza, you Wu-Tang fan? What is that? Practice with a yo-yo. Whatever you're going to do, just practice with it. Practice everything. It's a good way to spend your time. About the hour and a half marks, if you guys have any more questions, get them out there. I'll probably wrap it up pretty soon. Wu-Tang forever. I gotcha. I said recently in one of my comments, someone made some sort of comment. I was like, "You got beef? Bring the ruckus." Bruce called intercepting intention. Interesting. See ya. Thanks for stopping by. Smash the like button on the way out. It helps with the algorithms. All right, guys. Well, thanks for stopping by. Check out the links that I'll put in the description afterwards if you're interested in the shirt or any of the other stuff. Check out Let's Talk About Prepping channel. Let's get him up to see if we can get him up to 500 subscribers or something like that. Give him a jump start. Possibly email me. Yeah, just shoot me an email at rulethewasteland@gmail.com, and if I can make it work, we'll see what happens. Smell you later. Thanks for watching, guys.